All right, guys, welcome back. Quick market update, and then we'll do a trade recap for today, March 11th. Today was actually a pretty interesting session, very busy. We had a lot of movers. The broader market stayed relatively choppy while oil continued pushing higher as tensions in the Middle East keep heating up. So before we jump into the trades, let's quickly take a look at SPX and USO because they're setting the tone for everything right now. Starting with SPX, technically speaking, yesterday I mentioned that we might see some chop today, and that's exactly what ended up happening. Price mostly moved sideways without strong follow through, which usually means the market is just deciding where the next real move is going to be. Right now, it looks like SPX is slowly working its way down toward the green demand zone around 6,700. So that level is pretty important at the moment. If we do see the price move into that 6,700 demand zone, I would not be surprised to see buyers step in and push the market higher from there. So short term, I'm still watching for a dip toward the demand zone and then potentially a bounce from that area, especially considering how geopolitical tensions are rising again in the Middle East, which can add volatility to the broader market. Now, looking at USO, which has been one of the biggest macro stories lately. In yesterday's video, if you remember, I mentioned that a move back toward 119 plus was entirely possible. And today we actually started seeing that early stages of that move. At the open, we had a quick drop toward 101, but buyers stepped in pretty aggressively, as you can see here. From there, price recovered throughout the session, eventually pushing up to around 116 and after hours trading. So overall, that's pretty strong. That's a pretty strong recovery, in my opinion. Right now, oil is basically trading headline to headline, especially with everything happening in the Middle East at the moment. Now, if tensions escalate further, we could easily see another push toward that 119 plus level. But if domestic headlines start coming in again, we could also see sharp pullbacks. So this is definitely a market where you want to stay flexible and secure profits as moves extend. All right, now let's get into the trades from today. Overall, it was a pretty productive session with a mix of overnight momentum and intraday breakouts. First trade we have is ACXP. Now, this one was actually an overnight hold from yesterday where the alert went out around $2.93. Today, the move really expanded and the stock pushed all the way up to about $6.29. And that ended up being roughly about 114% winner for us from the original alert. Most of the position was has already been trimmed into strength. I would say I have about 15% left just in case the momentum continues tomorrow. Next trade today we have is TURB. Now the key level here was 440 as alerted, which I mentioned as a reclaim level to watch. Once that level broke in after hours, the stock pushed quickly and eventually made fresh highs around 590. Now that move ended up being about 34%, and we booked half the position into strength. Pretty classic momentum reclaim setup, and I'll be watching this one for continuation. Now another interesting one today was TMDE, and after hours we took a small position overnight around $2.37, mainly to get some oil exposure since the energy narrative has been heating up. During the session, the stock started breaking out of a triangle pattern, and the key level we were watching here was a reclaim of 278 for further continuations. So far, I've booked about one fourth of my position over here, and I'm still watching this one because the oil theme might continue tomorrow, and small cap energy names can move pretty quickly. And TMDE is one of those recent runners where we really know that it can provide a larger move if oil stays into play here. Another nice move came from SAFX. Let's take a look at that one. This one was alerted at around 43 cents today, and the stock went all the way up to 55 in after hours trading. Now, the daily chart actually looks pretty strong here. So near-term targets I'm watching are around 70, and then once we clear that and hold, I'm looking at even a potential 90 plus cents on this if the momentum continues for the rest of the week. Now, one other trade worth mentioning was SXTP, which moved about 19%. We still have half of the position left here as well. I'll be watching this one for continuation tomorrow. Now, overall, pretty productive session in my opinion. We had a good mix of overnight momentum trades, earnings runners, and technical breakouts. And the key today was simple: taking profits into strength as the move is extended. So going into tomorrow, I'll be mainly watching whether SPX taps that 6,700 demand zone, whether oil continues pushing towards 119 plus, and of course, any new breakout setups that form for our day trading purposes. We'll see what the market gives us next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.